Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church. I'm delighted to see all of you here on this holiday weekend. Welcome to our visitors. Welcome to those who are joining us online. We're thrilled to have you today. I have some announcements as we begin. And listen, we won't have any announcements this week or next week. So you got to listen really good this week, right? Or read your church email. Okay. First, on Wednesday this week, we are proud to be participating once again in the Pride Interfaith Worship Service. It's a worship service that takes place every year during Pride Week, and you'll see many faith leaders from many communities getting together to present this worship service to the community. We invite you to join. It's at First Baptist Church, our neighbors right down the street, starting at 7 o'clock. We hope you'll be there. Next Sunday, June 4th, one service at 9:30. That gives everybody a chance to get downtown to the parade, get your parking place, get your viewing spot, and watch the parade go by. If you are a Pride volunteer, please check your email. There are important announcements in there. We have all the booth volunteers that we need. Thank you. But we are still looking for some folks to help carry the giant flag. Now, it's a heavy, awkward thing, and we're going to be carrying it for 3 miles. So this is not a job for everybody. But if it is a job for you, I'll stand right next to you, and we're going to carry this thing all the way through. It's a lot of fun. So if you are interested in helping out with that, please come see me after the service. Then the following week is the last official Sunday of our church year, June 11th. One service at 10 o'clock right here in this room. This is our annual flower ceremony, and we're asking this year, if at all possible, to bring yellow flowers. You'll see why. If you can, please bring yellow flowers. Maybe bring an extra or two for those who don't, and I'll be sure and have plenty of extras here too. Yellow flowers for June 11th. This is also Reverend Ian's last sermon with us, and we'll have our picnic after service to send him off and celebrate all the work that we've done together this year. We're also going to welcome a few new members to our church on the 11th. On the 11th, if you have joined the congregation or you're interested in joining the congregation, please come and talk to me or email me and let me know so that we can include you in the way that's best for you. And now on this Memorial Day Sunday, we begin our service by lighting the chalice today with these words by the UU military chaplain, Nicole McKay. We gather to remember those who could not grow old and those forced to grow old long before their time. We gather to hold space for silence as we make meaning of our history to help us work for peace and justice today. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and sing with us, number 298. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. The words of John McCrae. Please join me in a spirit of prayer or reflection. Eternal One, whose name is life, whose name is mercy, you are the mother of us all. You are every mother who has raised a child and then sent them off to fight and die in someone else's war. Yours are the arms of every mother who has held the broken body of a soldier and laid it in a grave. As our nation celebrates its war dead with cookouts and shopping, be the voice keening, wailing, that cuts through the noise and refuses to be drowned out. Remind us of the power of lament, of the power of protest, of the power of resistance, the power which belongs to the people. Remind us that the foe we quarrel with is not the people of another nation, your children who share with us your sky and your rain. The foe with whom we quarrel is greed, and the faith we would break with our fallen is our common humanity. Keep us awake to the waste of war, the utter waste, the waste of life, the waste of resources, the waste. When we are tempted toward vengeance, help us see it as the same wasteful urge that provokes war everywhere. Cool us, calm us, move us toward compassion, move us toward diplomacy, move us to tread softly on your earth that needs more mercy and more justice. Amen.
Yeah. Now's the time that we collect our offertory. It's one of the ways that we bring our ministry to the world. It's part of how we show and sort of demonstrate our investment in the community that we have come to call our home. It's a way that we weekly go through this regular demonstration of I choose yes. That it's this body of people that guides me, that sings to me and comforts me, and cares for me, gives me wisdom and challenge, so that we might go out into the world and speak both prophetically and pastorally. It is the community that shapes us, all of us. We are shaped as much, if not more, by you. So, thank you so much for coming, to saying yes, to being together, right, in a world that is driving us ever apart. But yes, we choose one another yet again. The offertory will now be gratefully accepted. It's getting sad to see people for the last few times. I know. And you're not sitting in the same places. You're all moving around. It's like making it hard for me at the very end. Richard Rohr, in his book Simplicity, writes, "Promise without price becomes sweet sentimentality. Price without promise becomes shame, burden, and grief. We have enough of both." I thought about this passage while reading a post on Facebook, which is never really a good thing. I mean, theological reflections on Facebook. But I was thinking about it after reading something a colleague had written. She was upset with the sentimentality of liberal religion, but she chose to vent her frustrations using the language of shame. And it took the wise advice of an old mentor still kind of rumbling around in my head not to respond. It wouldn't really have helped anyway, right? We've all been down that road. So one of my favorite profile pics, I used to put jokes up instead of my real self. One of my favorite profile pics was of this 8-year-old girl yelling at a donkey, and the donkey yelling back, and the meme was simply titled "Argument on the Internet," or something like that. And, at times I've been both the girl and the donkey, so I was grateful to remember those calming words of that mentor, and I just scrolled on. But the comment has stuck with me. Liberal religion can be overly sentimental. There is something about our belief in every being's inherent worth and dignity that at times keeps us from looking people in the eye and saying, no, that's not going to happen here. At least in theory, we believe that everyone has a place at the table and that no one is outside the reach of redemption, which can be problematic. You know, I remember an advisor at seminary looking me dead in the eyes and saying, you know what the problem is with UUs? Which is always when I'm like, what? Because, you know, like every religious person, I'm like, what's wrong with me? You know? But he looked me dead in the eyes and he was like, UUs don't understand evil. And he was right. I wasn't quite sure what he meant at the time, but we are very amenable to talking about evil as conceit, right? Somewhere along the way, we've all heard sermons about the labyrinthine corridors of the right-wing mind where evil lurked, the shadowy specter thriving on fear and doubt, whispering deceitful promises, right? Very... Wait, I didn't even finish. I was like, had the malevolent puppeteer and the strings of temptation. We do that kind of preaching a lot because we like it. But evil? Like that person is evil? Say that too much, or even really at all, and you will have a line of people coming up to talk to you that will be quite long. But evil is real. So in many ways, I actually agreed with her critique. Promise without price, without sacrifice, without work comes across as entitled. And we are not owed anything in this world, as much as we might like to believe that. Too much emphasis on promise without price, and we begin to glorify a specialness, a uniqueness. And we're not the only ones who do this, right? In fact, it feels written into the ethos of being an American. We are all, politically or ideologically anyway, descendants from Governor Winthrop's city on a hill. First preached in 1630, Winthrop admonished his fellow Puritans, "The eyes of all people are upon us." The image of the shining city set apart for all to observe was carried into the future and made famous by Presidents Kennedy and Reagan, to the point where it has now become cliché, used by the literate candidates like Obama and Romney. I don't know if Trump knows who Winthrop is, but we are special. We are entitled. We are called to the unique and guiding role in this world. And while each of you has a calling, and each of you has been chosen in your own way, we should be wary of glorification. There is a certain freedom found in that old line, "You are dust, and to dust you shall return." When held in the correct light, this wisdom becomes a lens through which we can see how precious our mortality really is, and how futile the pursuit of that gilded crown of glory. But too much emphasis on price without promise is not correct either. A faith that hinges on demands for sacrifice finds a way to use that same wisdom not to free but to bind and to demean. Sacrifice is asked for, insisted on even. And if people question if the price is worth it, very often they are shamed as apostates or heretics of the great idea. Some of you know this only too well. We joked about Korihor last week. And it was a great joke. That was one of my best sermons. If you didn't come, you missed it. Well, except it's on YouTube. But it was good live. Still, we joked about Korihor, but that word remains a slur. It remains a slur for the free thinker in these parts. And it hurts. Religion and politics have entwined themselves like deceitful lovers, telling those who follow not only to eschew the invitation to search and to contemplate, but to comply. There are circles where prayer is for obedience, not for intimacy. Allegiance to one's nation is not all that dissimilar to allegiance to one's faith. There is a promise and a price for both. There are people who are all promise, and there are people who are all price, and I tend not to like either group very much. A healthy nation and a healthy faith requires a deep questioning of the promise as well as the concerted discipline when it comes time to pay the price. This is the path of authenticity. So today has been set aside on our calendars to memorialize those who have fallen in war. We are given an extra day of rest. Some will use this to celebrate the promise, and some will pay homage to the price. Honestly, I think both are fair behaviors. For centuries, people have paid the greatest price for a promise made, and to dust they have returned. Some in our nation cry out that the promise made was and has always been political artifice used by fortunate men who never have to pay the price. But sometimes these cries strike me as artifices of their own, indicating little appreciation for how distinctive this nation is. I am very grateful to live here. It's no city on a hill. It is no city on a hill, but I have lived in many nations around this world, and I am grateful for what I have here. Truly. But I understand why this distrust and ingratitude exists. The air is often filled, especially on days like today, with voices honking out shallow slogans of loyalty like geese bullying the other waterfowl into submission, with little appreciation of how few of the promises have actually been delivered. White supremacy reigns still today in this nation. And it seems, for the moment anyway, we have averted the crisis surrounding the default on our $31 trillion of debt. But we don't yet know the cost to that. However, be certain that when you are held in debt bondage by your creditors, as we are, and I think some of that has been intentional, whatever compromise is worked out, understand that it serves them and the politicians they employ. Flag-draped bluster from the racist patriots is nothing more than sleight of hand of carnival clowns. But both positions need greater introspection. So on this day, the one set aside on our calendar to memorialize those who have fallen in war, the day given to us as an extra day of rest, so we might contemplate the meaning of the promise and the price, those of us seeking intimacy with God, with the sacred, with Gaia, cannot allow ourselves to be fed by either path, as neither is truly healthy. We feel the weight of our existence. We feel the weight of the question, what is the meaning of this life? What does it mean to be American? We understand that we have come from dust and that we will return to dust, but that doesn't mean that this life is not precious and must be cared for, sometimes with our lives. When I lived in Cambridge, I would make a point to ride over to Boston this weekend for an hour or two of silent reflection so that I could witness the 37,000 flags installed each year by local veterans organizations and an army of volunteers on the Boston Common. Each flag stood about a foot high and was made with real cloth so that it would flutter in the wind, one for every person from Massachusetts who died from combat since the Revolutionary War. To this day, the Civil War remains the bloodiest of battles, slightly edging out World War II in that calculation, which perhaps says something about how we should remember our veterans. It could be that we reflect most on the wars fought in the 20th century because they are the most recent, or at least in some circumstances, the villain was foreign and evil. But it could also be that there are still quite a lot of Confederates living among us, including Union states like Massachusetts, waiting for the battle to resume. But in that annual pilgrimage across the Charles to walk amongst the flags, I would reflect on the promise of my nation, parts fulfilled, parts unfulfilled. I felt gratitude without saccharine sentimentality. I felt humbled by those who had paid so much, paid everything. One can't help when looking out over a memorial field to inquire into what is being asked of me. What is the price required of me? Is it not enough to live solely in the transcendent intimacy? It is not. We are called to act in this world. I do not believe in blind obedience or political artifice. We are being asked this weekend, on our day of rest, what is the price required of us to deliver on the promise? The discernment of the faithful weighs morality as a factor as we are drawn to question the promise and the price. We should be honest about that part of our sacred relationship. The confessing church failed in Germany in the 1930s. The church failed to correctly assess the promise and the price, which led to millions of people dying, theirs, ours, and people of other nations, for a wicked promise. This day is not without moral implications for the faithful. Sometimes you have to go to war. Sometimes it's an artifice constructed to make the ideological powerful and the wealthy wealthier. In both cases, people are going to die. The church should not fail in its duty to ask if what we are doing is moral or immoral. Some people say no war is ever moral. That's not correct. Evil exists. It does exist. It is not conceit. Not always. And sometimes we have to fight to stop it. And people are going to pay a price. Not me. I am 50. Right? I am 50. the people paying the price for war will be less than half my age. So they are relying on me to be moral and to not carelessly cast them into the wind like so many specks of dust, and then to use that dust for political maneuvering. A soldier's duty is to act. The duty of the faithful is to question the morality of those actions that we are asking them to fulfill. A civil war may be closer than many of us would like to believe. We may be called to act, to stand up to evil that is not some villain across the ocean. The confessing church of Germany failed and soon found themselves compelled to carry Nazi flags in all of their sanctuaries. It can't happen here, they said. And then it did. So on this day, the one set aside on our calendar to memorialize those who have fallen in war, a day given as an extra day of rest so that we might contemplate the meaning of their deaths, the faithful also turn in prayer and meditation. What is the promise and what is the price of this path? Help me understand my sacred calling with gratitude and humility, but also with moral fortitude to ask if what we are doing is right before we ask people to die for us. I'm not suggesting that you enact a maudlin penance, but sometime this weekend, I invite you to pause with intention and reflect. Use this day for what it was intended. Honor the past and the future. What is being asked of you as a citizen and as a person of faith? We need both your wisdom and your action. Amen. Please join in singing number 347. 347. Gather the Spirit.
Yes.
source of life, God, my darling. Inspire us with this great wonder of promise, the promise of being able to witness, of being able to see and value and understand the worth and the dignity of every being. The promise of knowing that we have value just because we are alive. Awaken us to that deep, deep interrelatedness. The space beyond right wing, left wing, Republican, Democrat, inside, outside, beyond all of the fences that we make up, surely out of tricks of our minds. Invite us just to rest in the interwovenness of presence. And fill us with grace so that we might find the courage and the wisdom to know when we must act and when we must love, and when they are both the same. Amen.
While they get themselves organized, I wanted to thank them all, first of all, for showing up. David always has this problem at the end of the year of his choir troops being decimated. I wanted to thank also Jim Thornburg, who's been singing this since in high school and introduced a bunch of us to it, and my wife, Marty, for suggesting it. And for Monica for joining us.
Okay, thank you so much, Alvin. Can you stand up one more time? Thank you, Alvin. Yes. Right. We have Palmer up in the the high seat of bringing us out to the world. Thank you so much, Palmer. Monica and David, thank you both so much. You guys were like, last week was our last week, but no. So good, amazing, so beautiful. Thank you all so much for coming. Our ushers, thank you, and the coffee people. Please thank the coffee people who are out there when you go say hi. Please join us in Elliott Hall.